G'day ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the YouTube channel. How we all doing on this lovely day? Mate, it's been winter, summer, gonna rain again. The weather has been very Melbourne lately, and it's very confusing, but it's a good day today. We're gonna get out and do a cheeky videos for you all. So if you're new already, g'day ladies and gents, my name's Nathan. I make videos about motorcycles, and if you like my content, leave a like, comment down below, and subscribe, because I post basically every single day. I've only missed one day so far since February, so woohoo. But today's video, which is going to come across as one of my most hypocritical ones, as you can see by my amazing amount of gear on my arms. It is how to safely ride a motorcycle. Now, ladies and gents, I know at the moment I'm a star, what's the word I'm looking for? Example of exactly what you should be doing. But what I'm doing versus what I'm telling is very different things, alright? So this is one of those do as I say, not as I do things. And obviously, you're your own person, so you can still make your own decisions. But without further ado, let's get into it. So, obviously, number one, you should wear your gear if you want to be extra safe on a motorcycle, but here I am, so I'm going to have to get that one out of the way. Yes, I know it's ironic, but shut up. Alright, that's topic number one. Obviously, as the reason they say etiquette and dress for the slide, not the ride. I don't plan on sliding, but no one really ever does. But with all the other things I'm going to talk about in today's video, it should help minimize the amount of potential sliding, or try and almost entirely eliminate the potential sliding and crashing you'll be doing. So first up on the agenda and the hit list here is one that you'll notice every time you watch one of the Motorstars videos, one of those kind of things, it's always shown, and that is stop speeding everywhere, okay? Now, I know I also like a little bit of the zoomy zooms, but when you're on a motorcycle and everyone else is not really looking for you already, when you go out of your way to go even faster, they don't notice you as much, and bam, you might get into an unfortunate situation. How do I know? I've never been in a collision, but I've nearly had a few. Now, when I was on my learners, I was a little bit more spicy. You don't know your braking distances as well when you're going fast, etc., etc. And thus, I had a few moments which were a little bit brown pants moments, but I never had a absolute code black. But guess what? You wisen up early, you sort of try and figure this out before you have the problem, and then all of a sudden, your chances of having a big oopsie go down drastically. So, slow down everywhere, right? Life's not a race, and if it is, well, we're not going to win it by going fast, okay? So, take it easy on the road whenever you're zooming. No, and if you look, if you're going to speed, pick your locations, because there are definitely locations which are easier to speed in versus others. In particular, like a situation like in front of me where you see these little turning lanes in the middle of the road, slow down around those, and see how I'm in the lane position 3. I personally, if I can see it's a blurry one, or I know it's a more of a blind one where you can't quite see the cars, I like to move into either the far left lane or into lane position 1 over here. Or I think this is position 3 to show. Either way, I'm calling this one lane position 1 today, alright? Because if you're in this lane position, sure, the cars in front of you might have a harder time seeing you, but I'd much rather them not see me as much, because they're in front of me, it doesn't matter as much, as opposed to the car turning out in the middle of the road and wiping you out and flying over the bonnet, you know? I don't think that's a good way to enjoy or start your ride, you know what I'm saying? So try and stay in a smart lane position and not crash yourself. But like I said, if you're speeding, those cars can't see you as easily, and thus you're more likely to have an oopsie with them. And well, look, it's a much more unfortunate day having an accident than if it isn't. Now, I sort of blurred 2 points into one there by saying, you know, getting into those the lane positions there. Now, another one is don't just accelerate to the speed limit all the time. I know I like to, but I also know exactly where I'm riding, and I know the roads pretty well, but that doesn't always mean it's a free pass. So pay attention to where you're riding and who you're riding with and whatnot, because sometimes you might do it really fast off a set of lights and someone comes out of a turn without realizing you're going to accelerate much faster than the cars. Because look, not everybody realizes that the bike's amazing power to weight ratio means bike go fast and car not go so fast. So, yeah, it's one of those situations where you sort of got to be careful with your motorcycling abilities, because look, I know we all like to zoom, but bikes do definitely go much faster off the line than any car does. So just keep that in mind, because I don't want to have any of you guys be like, oh, I've gunned off the lights and a car turned out in front of me situations, because it can and does happen. So just be aware of such things, dude and dudettes, because like I said, it only takes a split second to have a bad moment. Another thing I like to personally do, and I find it happens a lot more, and I know someone personally who did the opposite of this. Typically when I'm approaching an intersection, I don't go faster, alright? I don't always slow down, although sometimes it's definitely necessary, but read the room, as it were, and pay attention to what the cars are doing, and you'll sort of dictate where you stand on this point, because it's not the same every time. But I don't typically accelerate into intersections, through intersections, because you just never know what happens. So my mate did that, and that's how he rode off his brand new Ducati. Well, his brand new second-hand Ducati. He had it for about a month and a half, and he almost rode himself off in the process. So look, you don't have to go stupidly fast just because it's an intersection and you want to get through it, all right? Sometimes getting stuck at the light will save your life, so don't be worried about it. I know if you're in a rush, perception goes out the window sometimes, but please, please, please be careful. I don't want to see any of you guys get injured because of one lapse in judgment. Another thing you guys have to be careful about is when you're braking and slowing down. Now, I know everybody says watch out for the painted lines, especially in the wet, because guess what? They will catch you out, and it can lead to a very, very bad day. But if you're lane filtering, okay, do you know those little bumps you see towards like those little white things here, like 1, 2, like in between the actual lights? Be careful when you're going over those things, because if you brake too hard on one of those, they can pop loose and you can like low side the front of the bike because your front wheel will wash out. Now, I've had this happen to me. I didn't drop the bike, I was lane filtering pretty slowly. Fortunately, my bike's very low, so it's very easy to catch. Doesn't mean it's impossible to do it, or like you can't drop it, but I did hit one of those things that popped off in between two cars. I thought I hit somebody. Fortunately, I did not hit anybody. I just slid on the thing and it was terrifying. So be careful of those little reflectors in the middle of the roads, because guess what, dude? They can and will catch you completely off guard when you're not expecting it, and it can either be a good day or a bad day. No, I'm pretty sure if you do have an accident because of the actual road itself, at least here in Victoria, I don't think you'd be considered at fault, because I think that's a fault of the road. So I think Vic Roads, you have to come up with them and deal with all their garbage. So unfortunately, you have to listen and probably go through a few bit of paperwork and hoops to get that fixed, but I think they eventually will end up covering the damages to you and potentially the other party if it's the road's fault, not yours, from what I remember being told. So I do this every time. Know where you're going. It also helps you being safe. I always catch this turn in the wrong situation. Oh, I am not enjoying where I am stuck here. I'm going to quickly just go through here. Ladies and gents, do not forget doing your head checks. I'm going to sound like an instructor right now. See these bumps here in the middle? Bang, don't hit your brake too hard on them. So I typically ride my rear brake when coming lane filtering and doing all that. A lot of people don't use their rear brakes. I was in the wrong gear there. I haven't stalled the bike in so long. I ride my rear brake a lot more when I'm going through lane filtering, mainly because it keeps the bike upright. You don't have the chance of like hitting the brake too hard, and therefore, like when you hit the brake too hard when going slow, this is more so a common problem with newer riders and less experienced riders, is when they hit the brake too hard and then all the weight then transfers from left to right. So if you stop on a dime, you'll notice your bike will want to fall over one direction, and you're in between cars, you don't really want that. So obviously ride your rear brake, okay? Don't be afraid of it. Obviously, if you have one of those more fancier sport bikes and you turn on your sports mode, you might actually disable the ABS, so be careful riding your rear brake. But it's your bike, you should know where your limitations of your braking power are, so don't be afraid of it, use it. Now, one thing that I just did there was stall the bike. I haven't stalled the bike in ages, but it brings me to a good point, actually. Do not be like nervous or scared when you have a mistake when you're riding. A lot of people tend to panic, especially when stalling a motorcycle. Don't worry about it. It happens to everybody. All right, stalling is just a part of life. Now, you might not do it for months, you might not do it for years, but guess what? Eventually, you might do it. Now, I remember when I started riding, I was a bit nervous about the stalling, and I remember when lane filtering for the first few times, when you stall, just as you get in front of everybody, and you go, everyone's looking at me. But guess what? They might get a bit impatient with you, but don't panic. At the end of the day, they're just going to honk the horn. And now, I don't have anxiety, so I can't talk for those who do, but do your best to realise that at the end of the day, they don't really give a shit. They're just trying to get to their place, and a lot of people are impatient, so unfortunately that's just the way of the world. But guess what? Life goes on. You stall your bike, start it up again and keep moving. Don't worry about shitting yourself and going, oh my god, what have I done? You just turn it back on, make sure you take off correctly, and keep on boogieing. Alright, it's not the end of the world. Things can be worse. Obviously, if you hit a car, just be apologetic, say your sorries, and get on with it. Like, there are a lot more worse things that can happen on a motorbike than stalling at a set of lights. And guess what? I can assure you, after you've stalled a few times, it's not that bad. You sort of just go, okay, cool. Also, Vintage Motors, one of the guys who follows me drives them around down here. How cool's that? I have to go have a look at that place one day. It's pretty rapid. But dude, yeah, life goes on. You start your bike, yeah, forget about it. Just put it in gear and keep on boogieing, baby. Because I tell you what, a lot of people's nerves do get them into precarious situations, and you don't really want that to happen, because at the end of the day, it's not that bad to have a stall, dude. It happens. Now, ladies and gents, if you ride in groups, this one will definitely help you tremendously. It is one, ride your own ride, meaning if everyone starts speeding and taking corners much faster than you can handle, don't be ashamed, don't be sad, don't be like upset that you can't keep up with them all. Now, when I go for group rides, I know damn well I can ride a lot faster than a lot of people can, even on my Honda Rebel, believe it or not. I've gone through the twisties with people on R6s and CBRs and beaten them. But a lot of the time, I don't get scared about riding, all right? If I want to ride, I'll happily ride at the back, mainly because I don't really care about being the fast one anymore. Now, I know I've only been riding for 3 years, but my like need for speed in corners died pretty quickly. Like, I like it, yeah, but I'd rather not risk it, because I got to the point where I was really pushing the limits of this bike, and I'd rather not have an oopsie just for the sake of going fast one day. I'm happy going a little bit fast, but I'm fine also being at the back. And you know what happens being at the back? You'll also see if anyone else has an accident. So not only do you protect yourself by being safer and riding at your own pace, you can also help other riders if they have an unfortunate oopsie as well. So I'm a big advocate for riding at the back of the pack. Now, if you're an absolute beginner rider, you should technically be at the front, because the more experienced rider should be behind you to make sure you don't have an accident. But if they're all too immature and not comfortable and they're not helping in that regard, believe it or not, I'm more happy to, you know, I'm in Australia. I'm more than enough happy to be the guy who sits at the back and goes, you know what, I don't like how you guys ride. I'm going to ride my own speed. I don't care if that means I get there 5 minutes later, 10 minutes later. I'm happy being alive and not broken when I get there. And look, I've done rides where I've had learners mount curves and, not crash, but do it. In fact, on my last subscriber ride, I always do the one lap where I film it and I do the best to follow the rules, and on the way back we go a little bit, spicier. And I went first, and I was getting all these M1000 like adventure bikes and Panigale SP2s coming up behind me. V4 SP2s, yeah, those ones. And now look, you see a Panigale behind you, and you go, okay, look, I'm going to move over, because obviously my little 47 horsepower bike can't keep up with the Panigale. But guess what? I let them all pass me, but then I kept up with them pretty comfortably. It's a case of too much money, not enough skill. And one of the guys actually ended up low siding around a corner, going into a fence post. And guess what? I was there straight away because I saw what happened, all right? It's not that I feel like I'm a better person because of this, but I'd rather be there to be able to help someone who's in their worst situation than being the guy, either being in the situation of the crash or not even noticing the crash in the first place, because obviously I've gone beyond them. So I like to be able to see in all the people. I like to make sure everyone's safe and sound, but that's just how I am as a rider, which is really odd, because typically I don't really care about humans. But in riding and in my job, same thing. I care about the people I'm with. I care about the people I take care of, all right? It isn't my job, but I make it my duty. And there's no shame in it. It's an honourable role to be doing. I don't care if that means I have to ride a little bit slower to ensure everyone has a good and safe time. And if they do have an unfortunate time, you're there to help them. So one thing you'll also notice by watching other people is you can improve your own riding skills quite a ways, because you're watching either their mistakes or their good choices. It doesn't mean you have to mimic them, but just watching alone can help you. So please, feel free to hit the back of the pack, dude. There's no shame in being there. I love it. You also get to take the time, if you want to just take the time to cruise, you don't have it riding up your ass trying to be like, can you move over, you're going too slow? You're just cruising, mate, sometimes. Because honestly, I like to watch the scenery when I go through twisties. I don't really care about going the fastest I can possibly go. I've scraped pegs enough time on this bike that I've had to replace them. So I'm more than happy to just go for a cruise sometimes and look over in the mountain canyons and down the valleys, etc., and just enjoy my time, because honestly, I'm out to ride and enjoy myself, not to go as fast as I possibly can, because I don't care. I like fast, but I don't need to go fast, you know what I mean? And the faster you get to that point in your mental state, the safer it is. Now look, I know some people would just want to go fast, and look, that's your game, brother or sister. I'm not telling you that it's wrong. I like it too, but for me, I think it's more worth to enjoy myself and really pay attention to everywhere I'm going and enjoying the ride, as opposed to going as fast as I can through the ride, okay? But if you're the opposite, there's no shame. I'm not telling you to stop, okay? I like it too. Be careful when you're filtering, ladies and gents. I won't talk on it too much this video because I've done enough of it recently, but when you're filtering, make sure you are comfortable, you're calm, you're not rushing, because if you're rushing and filtering, you can have accidents, and we don't want to have any mirrors clipped, all right? Just take your time, know your bike limits. If you're not comfortable in your bike, just wait in traffic, dude. It's not the end of the world. And obviously, if it's illegal, well, maybe don't do it, because then people like to swerve out in front of you. So this is more so for my American viewers. I don't really know much of the other countries that ban lane splitting and filtering. But if you want to be extra safe and it's illegal, maybe don't do it, because there's a lot of good Samaritans who think it's actually wiser to commit attempted manslaughter or attempted vehicle homicide, whatever the hell you call it, because they think just because you're filtering through the middle, you're dangerous and a menace to society, even though it's technically safer to filter. But no. In those places where it's illegal, a lot of them like to whip out, open a door, and then yell at you like you're wrong. You're like, brother, can you, like, piss off? So, look, if you want to be the most safe you can, maybe avoid that, but look, I'm not going to stop you once again. It's your own ride, it's your life, but just be aware of such things, because it does happen. And for my final and perhaps most important point I'd like to get across is one thing that you need to get away from when you're riding is the one thing that gets most riders either injured, heavily broken, or worse, the eternal sleepy. And that is the ego, brother. Drop that shit when you hop on the bike, because guess what? If you go out and punch a mirror, you don't know what that person's going to do. Whether they have a gun, which obviously in Australia will be very rare. They might have a blade and swing at you, which isn't as much of a worry on a bike if you're zooming away. But if they have a car they can catch up to you and you're not paying attention, they can and sometimes will hit you. And believe it or not, 1 to 2 ton big heavy metal box versus a few hundred kilos of steel horse, the big metal box wins. So try not too hard to get into your head too hard, and just let things go when you ride. There was a video I did a few weeks ago where a guy nearly merged into me and I just zoomed out of the way and I laughed about it. And guess what? I know not everyone can do that. My God, it is windy today. But guess what? Leaving your ego at the door will save you from either speeding fines, road rage incidents, or worse. It's not that hard to not get angry at things. I know some people struggle with it more than others, but it's really not that hard to not get angry at things. And believe it or not, it's not worth the potential risk to yourself just to try and tell someone that they pissed you off. You're on a motorcycle, all right, dude? You will get cut off. You will have people yelling at you for doing stuff. You will upset some people just by lane filtering. Even in a legal country, some people get pissed at you. But guess what? It's a road. People make mistakes. Don't get angry because someone cuts you off. It happens more on bikes than it does in cars. It's not worth the road rage. And believe you me, 9 times out of 10, a lot of the road rages are not worth the anger. Only like, I'd say 40% of the road rage incidents are actually justified, because a lot of the time, I've seen you videos of riders, a lot of you guys do ride like absolute knobs and are absolutely in the wrong. And I don't care what you say to me, I've watched enough videos to know that whatever you're trying to argue is against it. You might be okay, but guess what? It happens too much in the opposite version that it's just not worth the argument. There is a police over there. Does someone have an oopsie today? Slow down to 40 now. It's one of the most annoying but also very good things for the things that ooh, the highway patrol. Naughty. CBR boy was doing a little bit of a zoomy zoom and the highway patrol caught him. That is unfortunate. See, now, if you follow the speed laws and you don't break them, those things don't tend to happen. There's another one right there. So if you just take your time, you don't tend to get in trouble as much as well. And believe you me, getting in trouble gets expensive. And the last thing you want is to have something happen. There's another highway patrol. Look at that. That's a state highway patrol. Look at that fancy thing. Because you got silly boy over there in his CBR probably doing something, either maybe no plate, maybe I don't really pay attention to the plate, maybe you're speeding, who knows. But guess what? You don't run, you don't speed. Now, I know some police in some states are more pricks than others, but guess what? Do your best. I can't tell you what the police are like, but in my experience, I've run into far less dipshit cops than I have on the other ones. But ladies and gents, these are all my little tips and tricks to get you better at riding. I do hope you guys take them to heart. If you have any other advice, please leave it down below in the comment section. I am always open to some more help and opinions. Don't get me wrong, I'm not going to think I know better than all of you. There are people in my comments who've been riding for more years than I have been alive. So I think they have an absolute justified say in a lot of these things. And then you got car in front of you like this one. And that's probably about as much of a road rage you get at me. A nice humble clap to let them know they're absolutely ridiculous. But yes, ladies and gentlemen, leave a tip down below if you have any other ones. But if you have anything else to say, please also, your input is always welcome. But that's all I have time for today. I do hope you enjoyed today's video, ladies and gents. Take it easy, keep it cheesy. And you know I love you, but it's time to leave you, so time to go. But have a good one. Peace. Bye.